Yo, what's up guys, Tom Lilly here. Today I'm going to be ranking every agent in Valorant worst to best. Quick before we do get into the video, if you guys want more videos like this and you do end up enjoying this video, be sure to drop a sub and drop a like to show your support. Anyways, let's get right into it. Coming in as our worst agent currently in Valorant, we have Reyna. Now this may come as a shock to some of you ranked demons who love Reyna, but in terms of pro play and actually having util to help your team, she is currently the worst agent. She doesn't create any space for your team, she doesn't have any util to stop a site push, and she doesn't have any info gathering util. And she also currently has the weakest flash in the game in my opinion. But one thing I will say is her flash is getting buffed at the time of making this video, so once it's buffed, she'll probably be much better. Next up, as the second worst agent currently in Valorant in our D tier of agents, we have Killjoy. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think Killjoy is a terrible agent by any means, but I do think she is the weakest sentinel in the game and she just doesn't provide as much as the other sentinels. Another thing is, let's be honest, at this point her setups are becoming pretty predictable and pretty repetitive. I think it's pretty easy to avoid a KJ setup. Next up in our D tier of agents and our last D tier agent, we have Cypher. I think the same thing applies for Killjoy. His setups are just getting to the point where it's somewhat readable and you can't really get much out of his setup, especially if you're in high elo lobbies. Also, another con with Cypher is he probably has one of the weakest ults in the game. Moving forward out of the D tier into the C tier of agents, and at our next spot we have Yoru. I think we've finally gotten to the point with Valorant where we can say Yoru isn't completely terrible. His fake out ability is decent, he has a pretty strong flash, and he has a really good ultimate. The one thing I would say is he is best with really good team play and good comms. If you don't have that, Yoru, you won't get the most out of him. Next up in our C tier of agents, we have Astra. I think the same applies to her as with Yoru. I think she has really good abilities all around. She has a good suck, whatever you want to call it, ability. She has a good concuss. She has obviously good smokes. Any smoke agent has pretty solid smokes, but she is best with a coordinated team and a team with comms, so she can be a relatively weak ranked agent. Next up in our C tier of agents, we have Raze. I don't really know what to say about her. I'm gonna just say she's a solid agent, but she isn't the best. There's other agents that do things better than she does, like with her Boombot, you'd rather have a Skydog. With her satchels, you would rather have a Jet Dash, etc, etc. But she is overall a really solid agent. Moving along, we have Phoenix. Now, I might be a little biased. Phoenix is my main, but I think he's a really good agent now after being buffed. I think obviously his best ability is his flash, but also the fact that you can get his ultimate and entry with it for your team every 6 ultimate points is insane. But yeah, I love my boy Phoenix. Next up, we have every Jet main's favorite agent, Sage. Mommy. Anyways, our next C tier agent is Neon. I think on certain maps, Neon is honestly an S tier agent, but there's certain maps where she's absolutely terrible. I think it's the I think it's the inconsistency that has her as C tier, but she has the potential on certain maps to be one of the best agents in the game. Obviously, her strongest map is Fracture. Moving forward, we have another C tier agent. It is going to be Breach. Honestly, I might have put Breach in the D tier in the past, but because of his necessity on maps like Fracture, I just think he has to be higher. I think with coordinated team play, he's honestly a really solid agent, and in pro play, he's actually one of the highest picked agents now. With that being said, I don't think he can be a solo initiator. If you are going to have him in your comp, you're also going to need a Fade or a Silver or a Sky, unless it's Fracture. But he is a solid pick for any team. Next up in our C tier of agents, we have Brim. You guys know Brim. He's been in the game since beta. He's basic, but he gets the job done. I would say his biggest flaw is he doesn't have universal smokes like Omen or Astra, but when he places those smokes, damn, they last long. To cap off our C tier of agents, this is going to be a hot take and might surprise some of you guys, but I have Jet. Obviously, before Jet was easily an S tier agent, but I honestly think through all of her nerfs, being nerfed like what, 3 times, she's finally been balanced. I think she brings a lot for entering, but with her new dash, I don't think she's as good as an operator crutch anymore, and I don't think she really provides much for your team on defense. She is a duelist though, and her job is to entry onto site, and she still does a really good job of that. Moving along to our B tier of agents, in our first spot, we have Sova. Sova is another agent that I think was previously S tier, but with his recent nerfs, I think he definitely got slotted down a bit. Honestly, I don't even think he's a necessity on most maps like he used to be with the introduction of Fade. I think he's just the weaker agent compared to her. He is still a really solid agent to have on your team, and you can't complain when you get a Sova on your team. Next up in our B tier of agents, this is going to be a hot take, but I have Skye above Sova. I think it's very close, but the reason why I put Skye above Sova is, again, because Fade is so similar to Sova. I think Skye brings more of a different package to the team. I also think that Skye has more solo frag potential than Sova. You can use her blinds to get kills for yourselves. Another plus is that she has her heal, which is huge. Although her dog, fox, whatever you want to call it, isn't quite as good as Sova's drone, it's still solid and it's viable. To cap off our B tier of agents, I have Omen. I think what puts Omen above the other Central Smoke characters is his versatility. What I mean by that is I think he's viable on just about any map, and he's just a solid agent to play no matter what. Well, unless it's Breeze, then you want Viper. Moving along to our A tier of agents, we have KO. KO is easily one of the strongest agents in the game, especially for pro play. Although his picks can be somewhat dodgy in ranked play, as long as he's comboed with a Sova or a Skye or a Fade, he is extremely useful to the team, and his util is so overpowered. I think one of the best things about KO is you can use his knife to do counter strats, so if a team is doing a setup with their util, you can just knife them and it's over for them. With that said, KO's entire kit is really strong. He has a really good flash, he has a really good molly, and his knife is obviously extremely overpowered. Oh, and let's not mention his ult. That is extremely overpowered as well. To finish off our A tier of agents, we have Viper. I think what makes Viper so important is her necessity on certain maps like Icebox and Fracture, and especially Breeze. You need her on Breeze. It just instantly has to slaughter the S tier because she is a necessary pick on certain maps. Also, she's a really versatile agent in the sense that she is super good on attack and defense. She's basically used as a sentinel and a controller role. First off, in our S tier of agents, we have Fade. Fade right now is easily the strongest initiator in the game. With her 2 dogs, to her suck ability, to her ultimate, it's just all extremely overpowered. I think what makes Fade so overpowered is not only does she get the info on a player when she uses her util, she also can blind them or concuss them or whatever it is that her certain piece of util does to her enemy. Fade right now, in my opinion, definitely needs a nerf, but she is currently overpowered. To finish off the S tier, we have Chambered. All I'm gonna say is nerf this mofo.